Hi all, in this video we will see Apache Py part 1. As part of this video we will see what is Apache Py library, download Apache Py jars, find column count in Excel, find row count in Excel. So the basic idea behind Apache Py is to interact with the Excel files. So Excel is a Microsoft related software. So if you want to interact with that Excel using your Java, then you need some third-party libraries. Those are called Apache Py. So before that, we'll talk about Excel. Excel is a file where we can store the data in an organized way. Excel will contain rows and columns, so it is easy to organize the data. We can read the data using rows and columns from Excel. When we want to make the test data should be away from our program, then Excel is one of the best choices. We have so many APIs to interact with the Excel, but Apache Py is one of the rich APIs to work with Excel. So Excel will contain rows and columns, and Excel will is very much useful to maintain our test data as it organizes the data in the rows and columns, so you can easily read the data using these rows and columns. So to interact with these Excel files, we have so many APIs, but Apache Py is one of the best APIs to interact with the Excel. That is the reason we are going to see about Apache Py. So Apache Py official website is py.apache.org, and this is the link where you can download Apache Py. So we'll go to the Apache Py. See, this is the py.apache.org. Here you can see one of the options called binary distribution. In the binary distribution you will find .zip file. Okay, when you click here you will find some other links. So any one of the links you can download jar files. The latest version is 4.0.1, but I have downloaded the previous version, so that 3.17 is enough. So you can download if you want latest one. So I'm using already downloaded version, and here I have one of the XLS file called testdata.xlsx. Okay, we will see what is there inside that. So before going to that, we have some important classes need to use. Those are file input stream, file output stream. These are all means these two are from Java, and but XSF workbook, XSF sheet, XSF row, XSF cell, these are all coming from Apache Py. So these are the classes very much helpful to read the data from the Excel file and to write to the Excel file. So important methods in the Apache Py: get sheet of the sheet name of your Excel file. It will get sheet with given name. Get last cell number. Get the index of the last cell contained in the row plus 1 as index starts from 0. So index starts from the 0. If you want to know how many rows are there in the Excel sheet, then you will add plus 1. Get string cell value. Get the value of the cell as a string. Get row of int, returns the row. Get cell of int, get the cell representing a given column. Get numeric cell value, get the value of the cell as number. Means if the cell contains numeric values, then you have to use get numeric cell value. If it is having some text, you need to use get string cell value. If it is having some date value, so in Excel you can format a cell as a date, as a string, as a number. So according to that format, you need to use the method to get the value. So get date cell value will get the date value. Get boolean cell value, get the value of the cell as a boolean. So these are all the important methods in Apache POI. So some of the points to remember. Row index starts from 0, column index starts from 0, extension of Excel file is .xlsx from Excel 2007 version. If you want to read integer value, then you have to use apostrophe value in front of integer value. So then it will become string, you can easily read the data. So in the Excel, instead of put 10, just put apostrophe 10. Then it is easy to read the data. And most of the people will feel that they'll put integer value as a normal 10 and then try to read the data using get string cell value. So they will get data in some other format. So they'll struggle that how to read the data. So that is the reason this is one of the important points to remember. And we need to use different kind of methods to read string, integer and date values from the Excel. Okay. So this is a sample Excel sheet. So this is the data, username, password, date created, number of attempts. So each one is called column and this is row. You see that it represents column and it represents row, and the particular value which you are storing is called a cell, and this is a sheet, and column 0, row 0, this is 0 of 0 comma 0th cell. So this is a typical Excel sheet. So we are going to see the same Excel sheet which I told you, the test data.xlsx. In that we'll have the same data. So we'll have a look into that. You see that username, password, date created, number of attempts and result. So this is A is a column, B is a column, C is a column, D is a column. But when it comes to the 1 is a row, 2 is a row, 3 is a row, and coming to this one, A2 is a cell, here admin user. So this credentials is a sheet. Okay. This is a sample Excel sheet which we are going to interact with. So now let's go to Eclipse, and you know how to add the jar files. So we'll try to add the Apache POI. Right click on the project, go to the properties, go to Java build path, and you already had added Selenium, and the same way add external jars. So go to this one, go to jars, go to jar files, POI 3.17, and whatever you have this, you see that .jar, select all and open. You see that it added some jar files, add external jars. You have in the ooxml-lib, you have 2 more jars, add these 2 and add external jars. You have in the lib, you have some more jar files, open, apply and close. So we added the required jar files. So now in the source, I'll create a package called Apache POI Excel, Apache POI Excel. So inside this, I'll create a class. I say Excel row and column count, something like that. Excel row and column count. here, and then public static void main. So inside this, we'll try to write the code. So first we will see a normal program. After that we will create a utility class. Okay, there you will write utility methods or helper methods. Then no need to write again and again the same code. So from there we will call the methods which we need. For first we'll see how it will work. Then we'll create a utility file. The first file input stream. Okay, this is coming from java.io.file input stream. So FIS is equals to new file input stream, and then it needs a file. Okay, this is the path of our Excel file. So I'll go here, I'll right click services, copy path. So I'll go to here, I'll just paste. You see that I'm getting the file path, and you need to add throws declaration. And you see that if it is Windows, you need to mention the drive, C drive, D drive, E drive, where your testdata.xlsx is. Okay, now XSF workbook. You see that XSF workbook, you need to create an object for that. So XSF workbook is equals to new XSF workbook of, it will accept file input stream. So you need to pass that FIS to this XSF workbook. So it will add IO exception. So let it be. Then till here we have seen that where my testdata.xlsx file is, and then we're using my I'll taking the workbook from this FIS. Okay, workbook means the Excel file itself. In the workbook you need to go to XSF sheet. Okay, sheet is equals to workbook object dot get sheet of, you see that, string. So what is the sheet? I'll take the sheet name as credentials. Okay, we'll take credentials sheet. Now once you go into the sheet, I need rows. XSF row, then row is equals to sheet of get row of 0. What do you mean by this? Okay, so get row of 0 means it is taking the first row, as index starts from the 0, right? So it will take this row where we have headers, your column headers, username, password, date created, number of attempts, result. So it has taken get of 0 means this row. So now you need to remember, in any row the columns are same, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like when you take 5th row, when you take 3rd row, when you take 1st row, whatever it is, the column count is same. So I have taken the 0th row. Inside that, now I'll count how many rows are there. Okay, so go to the Eclipse. Now count means it will be int, right? So integer column number, okay, otherwise column count is equals in a particular given row. So XSF row means the first row dot get last cell number, okay, get last cell number. What is the last cell? Then it will give you the count rate. So we will print this out, total number of columns in Excel sheet is, you need to add call count, okay. Now I'll get row count. So you have one of the methods in sheet, XSF sheet class, sheet dot get last row number, you need to mention plus 1, okay. The index starts from the 0, right? So is out total number of rows in Excel sheet is row count. That's it. First we need to find where my file is by using the location, and you need to pass this object to your workbook, new XSF workbook of FIS, and then inside the workbook get the sheet using the sheet name workbook.getSheet. So I went into the credentials. Inside that I'm getting the first row. In the sheet I'm getting the first row. The reason is I'm getting row using the index 0. So in that particular row I'm getting last cell number method using this method. I'm getting the column count. And inside the sheet you have one of the methods called get last row number plus 1. Then it will give me how many rows are there. The reason plus 1 is starts from the 0, okay. Now I will execute this and we'll see what I'll get. So before that I'll go to that Excel sheet and we'll see how many rows and columns are there. So rows are 5 and columns are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Both rows and columns are 5 and 5. So when you execute this, run as Java application, you see that total number of columns in Excel sheet is 5 and the total number of rows in Excel sheet is 5. I'm getting the exact information. So I'll go to this one and I'll try to go to another one, okay. So I have sheet 1 here. When I give sheet, I have 8 rows, 1, 2, 3, 4 columns. So I need to get 4, 8. So the sheet name is sheet 1. So I'll simply go to my code and I'll change the sheet name to sheet 1 from credentials. So only this is the change. When I execute now, you see that columns are 4, rows are 8. So it is working perfectly fine. So I'll just say Ctrl Z. So this is how you can interact with the Excel file and you can get the data from the Excel. This is very simple. First I am getting how many rows are there and how many columns are there. But just assume that you have so many Excel files and you need to interact with those Excel files as part of your Selenium code. So you have so many test cases. and here so much of test data is maintained in the Excel file, so you need to interact with them. So keep writing this much code again and again is a tedious job, and it not looks so good. So that is the reason we will create a utility class, then we will write all these things as a helper methods there, then we'll get the data using those methods easily. So I'll create a file called Excel API test. Okay, so I'm not going to execute this file. That is the reason I'm not checking the public static void main. This is a helper method. So I'll click finish. So inside this, first I will declare all the classes which we need. Okay, public file input stream FIS is equals, and initialize as null. Then public XSF workbook, then workbook is equals to null. The reason I am declaring all this or at class level is I am going to write so many methods, but each and every method needs this. So one time declaration I will do in the class level variables or methods, objects, then I can use wherever I need. Public XSF sheet equals to null. Public XSF row equals to null. Then public XSF cell. So you will read the data from the particular cell, right? Cell. So cell equals to null. And then I need one more variable called string Excel file path, where my file path, right? Excel file path. These are enough to interact with the Excel sheet. So now I'll create a constructor to initialize all these things. Okay, so initialize all these things, I'll create a constructor. So public Excel API test. So I am creating a constructor. So here it will accept one parameter that is called string Excel file path. Okay, where my Excel sheet is, I am giving that information to this Excel API test. So then this dot Excel file path is equals to Excel file path. Right, I am matching with this Excel file path to this Excel file path. So then FIS is equals to new file input stream, and then you need to pass Excel file path. Right, we have seen here FIS needs, file input stream needs Excel file path that I am passing from my Excel sheet, constructor. Throws declaration, and then workbook is equals to new XSF workbook of, you need to pass the FIS object, right? So that will become IO exception. So now once you get the data from the Excel sheet, you are dealing with the Excel file, you'll open the connection between these two. So once you read the data, FIS dot close. You need to close the connection. Then you may face some issues that when there is a open connection with the Excel sheet. So once you done with the interacting with the Excel sheet, you need to close the connection. So FIS dot close. So this is much information is enough in the constructor. So now I will write two helper methods. Okay, two helper methods to get the row count, to get the column count, right? So for that I'll write some methods. Public int get row count of, from which sheet you need to get the row count, right? You need to know the add return statement. See, as count means you will get in the form of integer, so that is the reason I am returning int. So that is the reason I am making this method as int return type. So inside this, first I need to go to sheet. Sheet is equals to workbook dot get sheet name, otherwise get sheet of sheet, right? I am passing from here the sheet, which sheet I need to go. So get sheet of sheet. Here also same thing, right? Workbook dot get sheet of, we are hard coding here, but we are getting this from the method. So in the sheet, int row count is equals to sheet dot get last get, not getting, I'm not getting this. I think the reason I given this string also sheet and XSF sheet also sheet, that is the reason I'm not getting this one, is not executing. So now sheet dot get last row number and then plus 1, as we discussed, index starts from the 0. So int row count equals sheet dot get last row number plus 1. So now I'll return this row count, right? So I'm returning int get row count, right? So I'm returning the row count. When I execute this method, when I call this method get row count of sheet name, then it will give me row count in the form of integer. So the same way I'll write one more, public int get column count, then string, I need to give the same sheet name. If you give sheet, the name is conflicting. Okay, so sheet is equals to workbook dot get sheet of sheet name, and then row is equals to, right, row equals to sheet of get row of, I'm hard coding here the 0. The reason is any row column count is same, right? So I'm taking the first row, means 0th index row. So I can hard code here, no problem. Int call count is equals to row dot get last cell number. So simply I'll return call count. That's it. Very simple. So I have created a utility class called Excel API test, and inside that I created a constructor. Inside the constructor I initialized two things, FIS file input stream and then workbook. So I have written two methods, get row count, get column count. You need to mention the sheet name, means from which sheet I need to get the column count, from which sheet I need to get the column count, and the same way row count, both. So simply I am returning the column count and row count. I used the same logic, but I made a separate method. Okay, so now we'll simply check this whether it is working fine or not. So I'll create one more class for this. Okay, class check Excel API test methods. So public static void main. So inside this, what I'll do, first we need to create an object to Excel API test. Right, Excel API test. So EAT, Excel API test, EAT. I'm creating an object, new Excel API test, and you need to mention the file path. So I'll take the file path from here only, from the same sheet. So I'll pass here. Then I had to throw IO exception. Then I got the Excel file. So int call count is equals to eat dot what column count, get column count. You need to mention the sheet credentials. That's it. You just print that column count. Okay, this is call count. And the same way int row count is equals to eat dot get row count of same sheet credentials. Right, so here s out row count. Okay, row count, that's it. Simply I created an object to my utility class Excel API test, object EAT equal new Excel API test, and it is accepting where my Excel file is. Then simply eat dot get column count, and you need to mention the or pass the sheet name. So from that I'm getting the column count, and the same way get row count. Right, if I execute this now, I need to get 5 comma 5. Right, so column count 5, row count 5 from the credential sheet. We have seen same thing in this class. Right, now the same way I'll change it to sheet 1. Okay, sheet 1. So when you run this, 4 comma 8, you see column count 4, row count 8. We have seen the same thing right here after changing the sheet 1. So this is how you can simply, wherever you need, just create an object for this class and pass where your Excel sheet is, and then simply call these methods. If you need row count, if you need column count, simply call this column count method, row count method, then you can use this column count and row count wherever you need. Right, we made the task very simple. Instead of writing each and every time XSF workbook, XSF sheet, XSF row again and again, so we made it very simple by creating this Excel API test utility class. Inside that we have some helper methods. Those will help you to read this data from the Excel sheet easily. Okay, okay, that's all in this video. Thank you.